Friedrich Nietzsche once said, "We have art in order not to die from reality." This might seem like an exaggeration, but is it really? How much of your day do you devote to watching television or reading a book or scrolling through social media to find something that sparks an emotional response? Listening to music? All of these are forms of art, and it's impossible to imagine life without them. With this podcast, I plan to talk to creative people from all mediums about their creative process, and also about why and how creativity is important to the culture of America. Welcome to the Song of Roland, American Culture at Full Volume, where we turn everything up to 11.
Wally Kurth, who I've known since middle school, is the only actor who is currently appearing as a regular on two different soap operas, Days of Our Lives, where he plays Justin Kiriakis, and General Hospital, where he has played two different characters. Wally's been nominated for Daytime Emmy 5 times, so he's trying to chase down Susan Lucci's record. Wally also produced and narrated one of the most beloved documentaries ever made in Montana, Class C, which was about girls' high school basketball in Montana, and which just celebrated its 20th anniversary. Talk to me about how you got your first big break with the Joseph Papp thing.
Well, I was a student at UCLA, and a couple guys in the theater department were talking about this open audition for a non-equity chorus cast. And equity requires that every equity production have a non-equity chorus call. So people who aren't in the union get a chance to, maybe get cast in the play, and then they get their union card. So I went to one of those things with two other guys, and it was kind of it was actually really a great audition in the sense that you just had to sing like 16 bars from the show. Mm. And I was just thinking about this the other day, and I was really, and one of the parts was the really high stuff. You had to hit a high B flat. Come friends, who plow the sea, da 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 da. And then the other one was a low E flat. Constabulary duties to be done. A policeman's lot is not a happy one. Really low. Well, I have a pretty low voice, but I also had been working on my high tenor voice, which I'm not a tenor, as you know, I'm like a high baritone.
Yeah.
And I wanted to sing Tony in West Side Story. Well, Maria, song Maria, you have to sing it a B flat. So I was practicing. I was going down to the music department, sneaking into the music room and playing and practicing my scales and trying to sing this high B flat. So when I went to the audition, I kind of impressed the music director, who told me later that he couldn't believe that I could sing the high B flat and the low E flat. So he was on my side. So anyway, I got into the chorus. I quit school. Actually, I got cast as Tony in West Side Story, and I was about ready to not take the job because I really wanted to play the lead in West Side Story. And I remember my girlfriend's mother at the time said, "Are you crazy? This is a professional job. This is it was the national tour. It wasn't the Broadway show. It was the national tour, but it was a Joe Papp production. Yeah. And they hire young guys. I mean, the cast was pretty young, and I think that's what they do normally. Most Broadway shows, you've got to be be able to move around and travel and do the whole thing. So it's kind of a young man's game. So that's how I got the job. And so I did the LA company, and I got to watch Barry Bostwick and Andy Gibb and Pam Dauber and everyone do their thing. Joanne Worley, who I loved. So that was really exciting. It was my first professional job, and it was in theater, and that was pretty cool because since then, I haven't done I did one more professional job when I was in New York after Pirates. But since I've been out here in LA, I've never done any, theater before. But actually, to quickly kind of sum it up, so I got this job, and just 16 months later, I was starring as the Pirate King on Broadway through all sorts of crazy serendipity and coincidences and deaths and crazy stuff. When we got to San Francisco, which was the next town on the circuit of the tour, they needed understudies, second understudies. So I got the second understudy for the sergeant, and the first understudy for the sergeant, and the second understudy for the Pirate King. So basically, I was the sergeant's understudy. I think that's why they wanted me to do it, because the sergeant was the first understudy of the Pirate King. So if he gets out, I would be going into just replacing him. Well, he went out. He got hepatitis. Back in the early 80s, hepatitis was the thing. That was the sexually transmitted disease that seemed to be affecting a lot of people. And so he went out, and he was off for 3 months. So I ended up playing the sergeant I was playing the sergeant in Seattle, and I also was playing it in Chicago. And it was in Chicago of 82, 43 years ago. You can believe it.
No.
In March of 82, John Belushi died. And Jim Belushi was our Pirate King. And so he had to leave for the funeral, and he had to leave. And so I had 3 days to prepare to go on as the Pirate King, which I never imagined that I'd be doing it, because I was a second understudy to it. Yeah. And I couldn't even grow a beard. I had to glue one on. I had a mustache, but I was a young 23-year-old. I looked 16. And, I was a late bloomer.
Right.
And so anyway, I did it, and they were really relieved. And remember the assistant director said, "Wally, you saved our butt. When I get a chance, I'm going to move you to the New York company." And he did. Eventually, after the run, I moved to New York, and I was the understudy there. And then they needed a fifth and final Pirate King to play the part the last few months of the run on Broadway. And Joe Papp came and saw me, and basically, you're the Pirate King. You got the job.
That's pretty amazing.
It was pretty amazing.
Doubt is an anchor, fear is the rope that you're tied to.
Tell me about what happened to lead to your eventual career. You started with Days of Our Lives, right?
So I came back here in 84, and I actually went back and got my degree. I finished up, I had three quarters left at UCLA, and I remember my professors were saying, "What are you doing here? We heard you were on Broadway. Why are you back? Why are you back? Oh, fly. You left the nest." And I'm like, you know what? I knew there was more I needed to learn. I knew I didn't know it all. And I had 2 quarters left. And for some reason, I thought a degree was, I didn't want to just sit around. And I thought, why not? Just go back. And it was great. I took a great directing class. It was a good scenic design class. I did a play that was in conjunction with the Teatro di Roma in Italy, and we actually went to Rome. I went to Rome with it. I played at Teatro Argentina theater there with this great actress, Italian actress. It was the Italian cast this big Italian star came to UCLA, and we did the production there at UCLA. And then the American cast, so me along with 3 or 4 other students and 1 faculty member, flew to Rome, and we did the play there for about 2 weeks, I think. So that was exciting. I did a musical review that went back to Washington, D.C., and we played at the Kennedy Center when I was there at UCLA. So it was great. It was really great going back to get my degree. And I got my degree in 85, and then 87, in the January of 87, I went to an audition and got the part of Justin Kiriakis on Days of Our Lives back in 1987. I was there for 4 years, and then I left. I got fired.
Did?
I let go.
Yeah.
And then I went over to 6 months later, I started on General Hospital. And that was really interesting, because I really did feel like the part of Days of Our Lives was sort of limiting. I'd sort of got myself into a little bit of a corner in terms of characterization. And you get frustrated after a while on a soap opera if the writing starts going weird. Like your character's doing things that you're like, what am I doing? That happens. And if you're a constant character like this, you go through different writers, you have to keep creating conflict. So sometimes the conflict is ridiculous and so forth. And so it was time for me to leave, and I was fine with, them not picking up my contract. And then I went to General Hospital, and I was there for 13 years, and I had a great run. I mean, we did some great musical stuff. My character had a double life, had 2 wives at one time, and We had a wonderful writer who really, she won many Writers Guild Awards and many Emmys, and the show won tons of Emmys. It was just some really wonderful storylines, not just mine. The whole show was, the 90s were kind of the glory years, at least for me, for my character. It was really crazy stuff and in some ways brilliant. So I left there in 2003, once again let go, and 2004, 2003, 2004. And then I started back on Days of Our Lives in 2009. They brought me back as a lawyer. And
so it was a different character?
No, same character. Just came back.
Okay.
And but I came back as a lawyer because they needed a lawyer. And I thought that was fun because I come from a family of lawyers. And,
that's right.
And so I've been on that show. I was under contract on the show for a little while, but then they let me go off the contract. So I was fired off that show as well. But I've been on that show for since 2009, so the last 15 years. And then about 10 years ago, General Hospital asked me to come back to do some stuff, and they kept me around. So for the last 10 years, I am the only actor in daytime that does both shows. I do General Hospital and Days of Our Lives on 2 different networks. But I'm not in contract to either show, but they bring me in. I've got 2. I mean, I gave you that Emmy reel that I submitted. Well, that was just, I submitted another Emmy reel for my General Hospital work in the lead actor category, because that storyline was even bigger than the one I sent you. Was just that was a supporting actor, which I got nominated for, which was nice. But so I was all fired up to, like, if I could just get nominated for 2 different shows, no one will break that record. No one will do that because no one will ever be 2 different shows. But anyway, it was great. It's so fun to do both shows. I never complain. I tell people I'm the only actor who never complains about anything, because I'm like, I'm fine. I don't need a storyline. I got another show I'm doing. I'm good. Whatever. Thank you for inviting me back. Thank you for giving me a script. I'm grateful.
Well, so tell me something about being on soap operas that maybe a lot of people wouldn't know.
Well, I mean, first of all, we don't have any rehearsal. We have to, the budgets now are such that, I pride myself in being one take Wally, and that's what they want. I think that's why they bring me back and keep me around, because they don't have time. We shoot probably about 130 pages a day.
Wow.
Nighttime television shoots about 5 to 10. Movies maybe 3 or 4. These actors don't have to remember lines. I mean, we have a lot of, sometimes some dialogue that's, I mean, let's face it, the dialogue kind of runs the scenes. We're doing really the theater. It's about as closest thing that you're going to get in television to theater, except for sitcoms. Sitcoms have a live audience, and they have it's like a proscenium stage, people coming, and it's almost, if you go to a taping of a sitcom, it looks like you're going to the theater. But soap operas is almost the same thing. We don't have an audience, but it's a proscenium stage. Sometimes you have 3 or 4 page scenes, 5-page scenes. And I tell people, I go, new people who come in, I go, it's kind of like opening and closing night on the same day. You got to come in, you got to know your lines. Hopefully you've really thought about what you're doing, because you're only going to get one take. And it's going to be, the curtain opens, 1 million people show up to watch you. You do your thing, curtain closes. So you have to attack it and look at it that way. Well, when you do that, the thrill of that live performance adrenaline is still with you, because you have to perform. You get one take. So you might as well, it's like when you're on stage, it's just one take. Once the orchestra starts, you're on, you're moving. And so there's a real excitement to that. And people like Jeff Kober that we were just talking about, people who've done nighttime movies, they are, what? How in the world are you guys? They're just wide-eyed. Like, I'm done. I thought that was just a rehearsal. I thought we're like, no, that's good. We're moving on. So that's different. People used to, first of all, if you're doing a nighttime, well, first of all, you're doing a theater, you got 4 weeks rehearsal, 2 or 3 weeks rehearsal. You're running it over and over again. You're rehearsing the blocking. You're talking about character. You're talking about the scene structure, what needs to be happening. Now, one thing that we are missing, I will say, in years past, is we had more time to redo scenes. So
Mm.
I always think that scenes were better. I don't, the actors' performances in some regard hasn't really diminished, but scene work has diminished because we don't have that director coming in saying like, okay, you need to do a little more of this, you need to pull back on that. We need to make sure we need to focus on this, this moment. This is the moment of
Mm.
the scene. So those kind of things aren't as focused on as because you just don't have the time to do it. Yeah, but I mean, other than that, I mean, so anyway, and in nighttime, in films and the little stuff that I've done in nighttime, you have 3 or 4 takes. I mean,
Yeah.
you have first of all 3 or 4 rehearsals, and then you have multiple takes from different angles. His close up, your close
Mm.
up, 2 shot,
Right.
sometimes a master. So you're doing the scene over and over and over again. And I went, oh, this isn't fun. I'm used to just
Mm.
like coming in, delivering your performance. You have control of your performance. I take my moments in the middle of my line, so I'm not editing for the years. Do you know what I mean? If you know that this is the kernel of what this scene is about and what's important to my character in this scene, I know that I need to do it in the middle of a line and not at the end of a line because
Mhm.
otherwise, so you can control your performance in a way. You can
Mm.
control, and you don't have that in films.
Mm.
You're either edited out, sometimes you're cut, or they're going to edit however they want to edit you. Sometimes you're cut out of the entire movie.
Right.
So I love that about daytime. I'm
Yeah.
in control of my performance, and I'm
Yeah.
like pretty much. I mean, when I watch, I'm like, yeah, that's what I wanted to do, and that's what I did, and that's
Mm.
really nice.
Yeah. So it sounds like you kind of ended up where you should have, which is
You know
which is
what, Russ?
pretty awesome. Not a
I'd
lot of people
never,
can
I'd
say
never
that.
planned on, I never planned on doing soap operas, but it
I'm
absolutely is. It's
mm,
absolutely my milieu. It's what I
yeah.
was built for. I
Mm.
really was built for it. I love the process of studying my lines, studying the script scenes. I spend a lot more time on the scenes, so when I go in there, I know it backwards and forwards. So
Yeah.
I can just perform it and not have, I don't feel pressure because I mean, if I felt the pressure of doing it in one take, it would be too much. It wouldn't be
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
So I do spend a lot of time on it. I really know the material. If the lines don't work for me, I'll make a couple changes and I can tell the producers I'm going to change this, or
Mm.
we talk to the other actor and we can make changes if it's clunky or doesn't seem to flow. We don't do it that much. The writers are usually pretty good, and so
Yeah.
yeah, no, it is. I'm not very good at getting a job. I don't think I'm a very good auditioner. I,
Mm.
I so I think I'm really lucky that I've had 2 jobs that have lasted 30 years.
Yeah. That is amazing. It's surely amazing. Yeah. I was looking at the number of episodes that you've been on, and I kind of assumed that you've been done General Hospital more, but uh actually Days of Our Lives is like 1,060,
Are you
and
kidding me?
General Hospital is only 800. So Days of Our Lives is winning.
Wow.
Yeah, 1,060.
1,060 and
Yeah.
eight. I've never heard that number.
Oh yeah.
Thank you for looking that up. Wow. Think about that. 1,000
Yeah.
getting in the makeup chair, getting my hair done, putting on my wardrobe, getting up there,
Yeah. That's a lot.
perform, hopefully performing a little magic, and then driving home.
Hmm. um. Hey, do you know Jeff Kober? Yeah.
Jeff was on General Hospital with me.
Yeah, well, I just noticed that when I was looking at your IMDb page, and I didn't realize he was on that show. I met Jeff, so he was coming. He was, he's from Big Timber, right, or
He's from
somewhere over there,
Park City. Park City.
right? Yeah. So he showed up at my AA meeting a few years ago, and we just kind of clicked and got together a couple times. Seems like a pretty nice guy.
Yeah.
It's
I
funny
didn't.
that
I only worked with him a couple times, but he came in like gangbusters. He's one of those guys that he was a bad guy, and he played it really well,
oh
just brilliantly.
yeah.
He won an Emmy,
Mm.
and he's he they only really have bad guys on General Hospital for about 6 or 7 years. The casting director was talking about this. Like the bad guys only have a 7 year run. And as good as they are, as popular as they are, they like, okay, we need another bad guy coming. They got 7 years, but he had a good 6 or 7 years. And I think he liked it just because it's good money. And yeah, but he was writing a book, and yeah, he's very spiritually connected. And I've seen him a couple times, but we like, "Lads, we got to get together." And my wife and his wife, we actually had a lovely time at the post Emmy party. And but when you're actors, you don't really hang out outside.
Yeah, right.
It's not like New York where you can just walk around the corner at the bar and have a drink, but here, you're driving.
Yeah, right. Totally.
But yeah, Jeff's a great.
Yeah, I just thought that was funny. Two Montana guys in the same show. Well,
we got wild and we got cool on the waters of the Yellowstone after school. The last best place you can find, where God reached down and blessed the ground and then stretched out the sky.
For full disclosure to our listeners, we've known each other since junior high, and I know you have a strong connection to Montana that's never really gone away. So talk to me about that, and then sort of segue into producing that incredible documentary Class C, which is still, played often on public television here in Montana. It's just a fabulous documentary.
Thank you. Yeah, I grew up in Billings, Montana with you and one of my many friends. And I think it's amazing that we talk about that a lot of our friends are still some of our closest friends. Even though I haven't lived there for many years. I mean, I went away when age 19, and I really have never lived in Montana since. I just come back to visit. But, Montana, there's something about the landscape, which is a line in Class C. There's something about this landscape that always brings you back. And I came from a really lovely family. I was the youngest of 5, and my parents were right there. And my mother and father both supported me and supported all of us kids to be our own individuals. And we lived at a small a nice middle class house around a little park. And I used to spend, every summer, every day after school in the park playing sports and hanging out with friends. And it was just this really idyllic childhood. And there's these big rim rocks above on the north side of town, and the Yellowstone River cuts through the south part of town. And even though there's like a big refinery there, down there, I think it's kind of exciting with all the lights on it and stuff. I remember I had someone come and visit, and they were like, "What's with the refinery in the middle of your town?" I went, "Oh, I didn't even notice." But I mean, it's just a great place to grow up. And, you talked about, the Arbuckle Ranch. For me, my grandfather had a ranch out in Winnett. And I was a teenager, and I spent one summer in Winnett. And, I was cutting hay all summer long. My brother was baling hay. And we became friends with the townspeople in Winnett. And we played softball like once or twice a week. And we'd all go to the Stockman's bar afterwards and have a beer. And of course, back then drinking age was 18. So I was legal. I was 19. And
that was kind of dangerous for us.
No, luckily we didn't have any fatalities.
Yeah.
All the keggers that we had growing up.
I know, right?
In Billings. But I spent that summer in Winnett, and it just, like you, it really did affect me in a way that just changed. In fact, I remember when I was, it was kind of naive, or maybe just, I don't know. I was just moved down to California, and I thought, well, you know what? If I never, if nothing happens, and if I never get a job, at least I could go back to Montana, and I could probably farm. I could grow enough produce to feed me and to survive. Well, I had thought in those kind of terms, living off the land, it's not so bad. You could survive. I would survive. I'd be okay. And in some kind of, primitive part of my brain, it made sense. and it gave me confidence, and it gave me I knew I could fall back on something, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I could always go back and just farm and just live off the land in Montana. And, you know, so there was, but also just the friendships and that way of
Yeah.
life, which will lead me to this Class C thing. Years ago, I guess 20 years ago, as we just celebrated the 20th anniversary of Class C, the only game in town, I went to Sundance Film Festival. This is the truth. This is the absolute truth, and it's a funny story. And I tried to get a pass. If you ever gone to Sundance, it's not fun because you have to wait in line, and it's the middle of winter. It's January in Park City, and you're freezing. So you just sit out there waiting to get a ticket. Hopefully, you'll get a ticket and go see this one show. Well, I did that one year, and I went, I can't do that anymore. I'm going to get a pass. So you have a pass to go to all these things. Well, the pass for the narratives, you know, the fictional films, was all sold out. You also have to it's hard to get those passes. But they had a pass for documentaries. I went, I'll take it. I'll go see some documentaries. I just want to pass. Well, I went and saw some amazing documentaries that moved me. I mean, I laughed, I cried. I was like, this is fantastic cinema. So it just made me thinking about, you know, ideas. And it seemed like a lot of people who were making the documentaries were kind of like first timers, and they just had a passion for the subject, for what the story they were trying to tell. So that's really what started it. It's just sort of like I started thinking about what I wanted to do, and I went back to Montana, and I remember seeing that silly series with Paris Hilton and Lionel Richie's. And I remember watching it and thinking, the cameras are on the wrong girls. They shouldn't be on silly celebrities. They need to be on the women, the young girls that live in those small towns. So that's what I thought. You know, I thought about maybe even doing like a series, make it a series, and not even a documentary, but I think that'd be really interesting. And then I watched another documentary about the spelling bee. Remember, it's Spellbound, I think it was. And it was a competition. And I went, a competition has a natural narrative, a beginning and middle and end. You're going to root for a team. You got the rooting stuff, everything. So I thought, boom, clicked. Girls basketball, and because also the small town and Win It, those Cowboys were talking about how they loved their new girls basketball team and how they think they're going to be competitive, and how you better get your ticket to the state championship in Miles City because, you know, they're going to be there, and you want to stay at the Ramada Inn. They got good, and I'm like, what are you guys talking about? Because this is back in 1977, and I mean, 77 girls basketball just started, and they were not very good. Just like we covered in the movie, the name of the game was turnovers. And because the girls hadn't been playing basketball they didn't grow up playing basketball, but then they suddenly had a girls basketball team at West High, and we had a team.
Yeah.
So anyway, I was just sort of like, wow, these old Cowboys are really passionate about their girls basketball team because their daughters and granddaughters are playing on it, of course. So anyway, that's a long story to making Class C, and I just started, I actually interviewed a couple directors that I'd met at Sundance, and realized, well, that's not going to work because they're going to have to move to Montana. I'm going to have to pay for it and all that. And so there was a lot of things we went through, but ultimately I found two wonderful homegrown directors, young directors in Bozeman, Shasta and Justin Lucci and Shasta Grenier. And they pulled off this feat of telling the story, this 90-minute story about 5 teams, small town high school girls basketball in Montana, and their journey through one season, the 2004-2005 season, and they go all the way to the state championship. And you learn about life in these small towns and how they're changing. And so we were able to cover a lot of ground, and also just these wonderful families that were willing to open up their lives and their homes to the filmmakers. And we just celebrated 20 years in Bozeman. We had a nice celebration. And the movie still holds up.
Yeah, totally.
Still holds up.
Yeah.
And so I'm very proud of that, of all the things that I've done. And I've done a lot of different things in my career with music and theater and television. But I will say this is one of the proudest creative achievements that I somehow pulled out. And I still stand by it. It's just fabulous. And I love the fact that it still moves people, and it still, is important to Montanans.
Yeah.
And actually, I didn't realize that this was the very first collaboration that Montana PBS did with independent filmmakers, and
Oh, really?
they've since done a lot more. But this was the very first. It was the pilot, you know,
That's
attempt.
great. Yeah.
And so they were, and I think they think, wow, well, that was pretty easy because they really, you know, they didn't put up any money. I had to go raise all the money. They gave us facilities, they gave us office and guidance, but most importantly, they gave us an outlet. We were able to present it on Montana PBS, Channel 13 in Montana, and most importantly, everyone got to see it. And they still see it. They still watch it.
Yeah.
And as a filmmaker, that's all you want is people to see it.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, you're not going to make your money on debt. You're not going to make any money doing documentaries, but you're hopefully going to make a little impact.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I just have to say that I think part of the appeal of that movie too was you just did a fantastic job narrating it. You know, the stories were obviously a huge part of what made it successful, but your narration was also really good. Who wrote that? The narration.
So it's interesting that you asked that question. We tried to do it without a narration. I mean,
oh, really?
So we didn't release the movie till 2008.
Okay.
This was the 2005.
Yeah.
It was done. Okay. So it took us 3 years. It took them 3 years and me, I guess. But they did follow-up interviews. They had to go back and, you know, go into their homes and and get, you know, the trust of these families to open up their homes and to tell their story and allow these young kids, you know, with their cameras to come in, and they don't know what they're going to do with this film. And we tried to do it because we were all fans of documentaries that didn't have a narration. But the filmmakers showed this one documentary filmmaker, an award-winning documentary filmmaker. He did Hoop Dreams. Remember Hoop Dreams?
Oh, that's a great documentary. Yeah.
And he watched one of our cuts of the movie, and he said, "Why aren't you doing? You guys need a narrator. You need to narrate this." And so that gave them great relief because there was just too much. You're talking 5 different girls, you know, towns. And I thought the narration that Justin and Shasta wrote it. I thought it was really nice. I thought the way they threaded it through was just enough. It wasn't too much.
Right.
And there's certainly, actually, when I listen to the narration, I go, I wish my tone of voice was been a little higher to cut through. It's a little low. It kind of gets buried in the sound mix, but I've got to get over it. Thank you for saying that because I'm actually quite critical of my narration. But another thing that they did was they took Phil Jackson's interview.
Oh, yeah.
And spliced his interview, his commentary, I think, in such a genius way. It was almost as if he had watched the movie and he was commenting on the movie. It was so well placed, his commentary throughout the film. So, yeah, the editing, the writing, everything. Those filmmakers took them 3 years to really, you know, you can't rush art.
Yeah, right.
I mean, honestly, and there was a time, and they would send me cuts like a year after. We're like, you know, and I was just totally going on my instinct. This is what was kind of fun about being the producer. I would just watch it, and whenever I got confused or bored, I'd make a note. Like, I'm bored and confused. And then I would just give them, and they would like, thank you. And these filmmakers were so good about showing lots of different people, not just me, in getting their input and getting, you know, criticism and being able to really take the note and think about it and go, yeah, okay, that's a good idea. We can make it better. And God bless them. We all decided, like, let's just make it as good as it can possibly be. And we didn't allow time to like be our enemy. Because let's face it, once in a while on television, like, well, just like soap operas, we got time.
Yeah, right.
We got to go. We can't do overtime today. We have a budget. Everyone, you know, we're done at 5:30. You know, we're out of here. So we're not doing it again. So, but in our case, we had 3 years to make it as good as we can make it, and I think we did.
Yeah, I agree.
You are the light upon my path, the singing in my soul, the sweetness on my lips, the half that makes me whole. You are the the spark of inspiration, the faith that pulls me through.
What's your plan as far as, are you just kind of planning to ride out these 2 jobs as long as they'll have you, or do you have a...
Well, I'm actually working on a project. You probably know. I think I threw out a couple. I'm writing, and I'm trying to be a writer. Not a writer like you, Ross. I'm a big fan of writing. I'm not writing a novel, but I have looked at a lot of scripts. I read a lot of scripts in my life.
Yeah.
And I've told a lot of love stories. So I'm working on a script that's a love story. It's a historical fiction. And I've been reading about this period in American history for the last 5 years, and I'm now piecing it together, and I've got a pretty complete Act 1 outline, about 25 pages of dialogue and scene summations, and I know how the Act 2 is going to go. I got a good log line. And I'm just like, I'm on it. It's hard. I mean, it's especially because I kind of know what it is that I want to say, but getting the words on the page in a way, because I'm not sometimes my syntax is out of there, and sometimes my sentences are really awkward, and so I've got to go back and change things and edit stuff and do it. But I'm really passionate about this subject matter, and in fact, if you're interested, I'll get you an outline. Did I send you the log line?
I don't remember.
I don't think I did. I don't think I did. I'll send you the log line after we talk, and and I'd like to get your feedback. It's just log line, but I do feel like the log line is. I feel like I've accomplished what it is that I've set out for my goal. So I am passionate about this project, and so I'm on something new, and we'll see what happens. But in the meantime, it's incredibly. I'm excited about it. I love historical fiction movies. The 2 main characters are fictional, but, Buffalo Bill Cody's the real thing. Annie Oakley's the real thing. Tom Edison's the real thing. These characters were all there in 1894 during Buffalo Bill's Wild West show in Brooklyn.
Right.
And I'm using things that happened there, and the Lakota Indians that were there. They were also at the Battle of Little Bighorn, and that's an accurate thing. And the character that I'm, starting with, who is a veteran of the Little Bighorn, he wasn't ever in the Buffalo Bill show, but I put him there. So anyway, it's really fascinating. So I'm still working on the show.
Good.
But both shows, and I'm doing the music thing and doing some writing. So I'm busy. Like everybody, you got to just stay busy.
What I've become, no one has touched me like you.
Do you want to talk about your son, or is that off?
Oh, sure. Yeah. Well, I've got 3 kids and 2 daughters that are up and out and about, and my wife and I, who've been together for 25 years, we have a son, Brogan, who's 20 years old, and he has severe autism. And moderate to severe autism, but it's just a journey that any parent with a child with special needs goes through, and it's a challenge. I'm not gonna lie, it's not easy, but it's also rewarding, like you have with your own children, typical children. Good days and bad days, and very, really rewarding days, and days that are incredibly frustrating. And you just want to be the best parent for this child that you can be, and you always feel like, well, could I do something different? Because it's new to you. You're learning new stuff. You have to, honestly, the key is you have to give up control of your life. And you've got to now your journey is basically going to be focusing on his life, and how do you so it's not that he's taken all the control, but he is now moving your focus that's solely on how you lived, and moved it. Marriages have a really high rate of divorce with kids with special needs, because it's just so much.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
And it's just because, they imagine, well, this is what my life's going to be. And then they have special needs, and they go like, oh, no. It's not going to be that. You're going down a different path now. And you have to accept that. And if you don't accept it, you'll either end your marriage or, things will be bad. So
it seems like you're probably in a good place as far as resources for a kid like that.
Yes. Manhattan Beach has incredible resources. The special ed program in our public high school is terrific. So I feel very blessed about that. Yeah.
That's great. And he's 20, you said?
Yeah, he's 20.
And was he able to, I mean, how functional is he? Was he able to finish school and all that?
Yeah, he graduated. I mean, he's obviously, his academics are behind everyone else, but he's actually still at the school.
Okay.
The states require school districts to continue the education for kids with special needs all the way to age 22.
Okay.
There's a program for kids who graduate high school at the high school. So he's still at the high school, and he'll be there till age 22. It's an area of the high school that's not really separate from the high school kids, but sort of. They have their own rooms, and so he just continues his academics, he continues his life skills. He works on vocational stuff. I mean, Brogan is verbal. He's not incredibly verbal, but he obviously he can speak and pretty much wants and needs. So, it's I mean, so he just continues his education, and he's just gonna be a little slower and behind everyone else. And yeah. We do this we're a band called the Day Players, and there's five. There's five of us, but the drummer, we have one ringer, one real professional musician who comes in, and he does it's two acoustic guitars and two cajones. You know what a cajon is?
No.
Cajones are this new thing that's sort of they do it a lot in Nashville. It's the unplugged version of the drums, and it's a box. It's a box, basically. You sit in it, and with your left hand, you can tap it, and there's a snare, and down in the bottom of the box is the bass drum.
Okay.
So you're beating this box.
Yeah, I've seen those.
Yeah.
I didn't know that's what they're called.
Yeah, the cajones, and so it's very stripped down, 4-part harmonies, and we actually are pretty good. The guys who in the band, we have a young guy who sings the high stuff, and I sing the low stuff, and one of the guys that I'm with, he was with, he's done he's done Broadway like me, and he knows how to sing harmonies and do all that. So we actually, we sound good. We do a bunch of cover tunes. We do a couple original songs that I wrote. One of the guys is sick. Child is sick. So now I got to learn his parts, not me. But I'm just going through like, okay, now what? I have to sing this part in this song that I'm not used to singing. And anyway, that's what I've been doing. Yeah. So. And we're going to San Diego this Saturday, and that'll be fun. It's a new venue, and I mean I have a lot of fun with the guys. It's great.
Yeah.
And I love traveling. Driving from Oklahoma City to Dallas, and in September we just booked a gig. We're going to be going to Des Moines and Omaha, and I've never even been to Omaha. So we do these afternoon shows, and then we drive that night to the next gig, and then we get up in the morning and do another afternoon show, and then we fly back to LA on Sunday night. It's kind of a cool thing. We go to comedy clubs. And so they have bar, and so the comedy clubs don't mind because they're not losing a night's revenue. The comics are coming in that night. We're a little bit of a different audience, and they put up with us because we give them a cut of the door, and
Well, is there anything else you want to bring up? Your mom just turned 101, is that right?
That is correct. 100.
That's incredible.
And my brother Sid, who was a lawyer, lived in London for many years, and he retired probably about maybe 15, 20 years ago. And I'm not sure what he and his wife are planning on doing. But once again, things that you can't control. He has assumed the caregiving role, he and his wife, Evelyn, of my mother. And it would be in a home like, she has another 101-year-old friend who lives in Billings, like a college friend, a very dear college friend, Dorothy Pete.
Of course.
Who's my godmother. And, but she lives in like one of the West Park Plaza, I think, or one of the places.
West Park Village.
West Park Village, yeah. So Mom is taken care of by Sid and Evie, and so she's down here in Manhattan Beach right now. He has a place here, and then he also has a place in the Meadow up at Big Sky. So I think they're actually going to stay here because she's moving a little slower just recently. So I'm not sure they're going to take that 3-day trip back to Big Sky, which they normally do in June.
Yeah.
But they are, when you have a sibling that's willing to do that and can do that, they never had children, and they've just, love taking care of Mom. She's a very grateful patient. And, she just has a smile on her face. And, she's probably dementia, Alzheimer's, probably for the last 5 or 10 years, a little bit severe. But she can't, follow as much as she used to. And she can't hear as well as she used to, too. So that kind of also,
Yeah.
But we watch television together, and I'll point out that I'm, there's your son. Here, look at that, and like, that's me. Oh, there you go. She gets excited, and she knows it's me and all that. So it's
funny.
Yeah. I mean, we feel very lucky.
Yeah.
She's still here, and I'll go over and play music. I bring my guitar over there and sing for her, and she loves that. Yeah.
So the 3 degrees of separation. My mom lives at West Park Village, and she plays bridge with Dorothy every week.
Oh my goodness.
They're in the same bridge club. So, yeah.
Well, oh, that's fantastic. No,
Dorothy's such a sweetheart. I really.
And she writes me letters, writes us Christmas
Oh,
letters
does she?
every Christmas, and it's great penmanship, and it's really wonderful letters. And she's terrific. And I'm gonna but next year at the reunion, if I'm able to get back there, I'm gonna definitely go over there and see her. I'll make sure I see your mom too if she's nearby.
Yeah. Well, thanks a lot, man. It's great talking to you.
All right, Russ.
Yeah.
Great talking to you, and I'll be reading your Substack and enjoying it, and I'll see you soon.
Thanks, sir. I'd like to thank my friend Wally Kurth for joining me today. You can check out his work on Days of Our Lives or General Hospital, and look for his band, The Day Players, which is made up of several soap opera stars and might be coming to your town. The music you heard on this episode is performed by Wally and his band Kurth and Taylor, and you can check out their work on your favorite streaming service. Join me again next time for The Song of Roland.